I've been slaving away to get this car done, and we are on our second to last episode. Well, not second to last episode, but we're on our last episode before paint, and I'm excited, but we have a lot to do. So let me break it down for you so we can get started. We are working on the back half of the car. Now we have these rear quarter panels, got to re-go over the ducktail one last time, and then paint strip, sand, and smooth the rear bumper. But wait, there's more. We also need to paint the side skirt and side splitters, which these are going to be gloss black. So we're going to pull these off on both sides, paint them, and leave them off for when we actually paint the car, because we're going to have them off and they're going to be a different color anyway. But to start, the first two things that we need to do are to take things off, and that includes the taillights and the rear bumper. So once we do that, we can apply the paint stripper to the plasti dip as always, get that off, and then begin sanding. So let's start by getting those two things off. I fought hard and I won. The bumper's off. That was my best real man voice impression. Please don't bully me. We got a rear bumper off and we got our taillights off, which means we're ready to hit this with some paint stripper and get the plasti dip off. So this rear bumper is all covered in plasti dip. This back cowl area is covered in plasti dip, and plus it'll be nice to be able to pressure wash underneath where the bumper was, because I don't think that's ever been washed in the 30 plus years this thing has been on the road. So we're gonna get all of this cleaned up, starting with the plasti dip remover. Let's get to it. Alright, we've got the back all off and cleaned up. We got the underside cleaned up and that all cleaned up. Everything's cleaned up, which is great. So now it's time to start sanding, and we're going to do this the same way as we did the front bumper. We're gonna hit this with a really low grit sandpaper, 40 or 60 or 80 grit sandpaper, something to take pretty much all the paint off the sides. Then we're gonna hit all of this with 220, and then from there we're gonna fill everything in, and we'll check back in after that. Look at those two red cars. Those just look so pretty. Look at this one mismatched colored car. Nah, it might look pretty eventually. At this point, we have the car sanded and we have the first layer of filler on there. But I want to show you something cool that I found out about this car. Apparently, at one point, this rear bumper was actually replaced with one that came off of a red Supra. Now, I know that this is replaced and not just having an original red underneath, because you could see the black primer, which is actually the same color primer that we use on this car. And also, this red is the same maroon red of my first Supra that I had. So I just wanted to show you guys that because I thought it was pretty cool. But now we're on to the stage. We're ready to start sanding. So we're gonna sand down the few areas that we had to lay some filler on. Those are the same areas on the rear bumper as they were on the front, just the corners started to crack, so that area right down there. Same for this other corner. Then we had a small dent here on this side of the car and a bigger dent over here on the corner, but it's all filled in. I'm also going over the ducktail again to make sure that this is perfectly smooth before we send it off to paint. And I do need to work on the back side of the ducktail, which I haven't done yet, but all we're going to do there is add filler and fill it over. But that'll be the same process as any of these other parts of the car. I just need to wait until I could lift the ducktail up, because it's just too tough of an angle to reach from down there, and I need it down to sand the other parts. So it is time to start the sanding process. So we're going to go ahead and start with our mechanical sander to knock down the majority of the body filler, then come through with block sanding, block sand everything down, and then we'll be ready to lay some primer on the side. And then with that, we can prime the car, and once we've primed the top side, then we'll get on working to the back side of the ducktail. So let's go ahead and sand and prime. finally cleaned off the driveway. Looks nice again. Now that still needs some work. So we've laid some primer now, and I want to let you know where we're at this stage because I wasn't quite able to do all the way around the car, but let me show you what's going on. So this side came out really well. The dent right there in the middle, you can't even tell that it's there, which is exactly what we're going for. So that's perfect. This side is all well and done. When we get to the back, this is where we have some more work to do, or at least where we're starting. So I did this section right here because that's flat and easy. The side here, I didn't quite prime yet because I had more work to do along the sides. Let me show you what's going on though. So right in the center of your screen where there's a little body filler, there's a crack in the body lines. Same with over there, and I'm trying to fill those in just to make them look a bit smoother when we come to actually paint the car. So I'm still working on that process on the back, which is why we're being held up there, but the bigger one is on the other back corner of the car. There's another down in the corner here that needs a bit more attention, and I'm still working on getting it shaped really well, and I need at least one more layer of filler before I could be able to prime it. So that's what's been holding us up, is the shaping of that process, just taking a little longer than I was anticipating. I did do some off-camera work, but it was on the top of the ducktail, stuff that you'd seen before. So let me catch you up on that, and then we'll get up to pasting the ducktail and set the direction for where we want to head next. So I laid more filler and sanded it down on the top side, and the reason I did this was it was just curving too much down right here and then coming back out, and so I wanted it to be a lot more smoother transition into the ducktail here, and so I just laid another layer of filler, or a few more layers, and sanded that down, so now it's right where I want it to be. So this is all taken care of and ready for primer. But the back side is what we haven't addressed before, and as you can see, it's now covered in filler. Now all I've done so far is lay a thick layer of filler along the back side here, and I did some minor sanding just to kind of see what the condition was, but we did a big heavy layer of filler across to have it mostly be sanded down, and I haven't done that sanding process yet because, well, honestly, it's just a lot of fun to watch that time lapse away. So I saved that for you guys, but we're gonna go ahead and sand this down in order to get this pretty smooth, and it'll probably take, as usual, 1 or 2 more layers of filler. So what's the direction that we're heading now? To start, we're gonna finish up everything on the back and the corner. We're gonna lay 1 more layer of filler on the side here and on the back, then we're gonna go ahead and sand these down and prime them. In addition, we're going to sand down the ducktail and prime that as well, and so we'll be completely done with the priming of the whole rear end of the car so we can move on to the side skirts. So let's begin with the back sides and work our way to the ducktail. I was panicking for a minute because I thought I didn't have any Dr. Pepper in the fridge, and I didn't, so I had to put some in. That's the whole story. We finished priming everything on the back end. The ducktail just needs to dry up now, and everything else needs to continue drying up before we wet sand it. But in the meantime, it's time to move on to painting the side skirts. Now the plan actually goes beyond just taking the side skirts off and painting them, because we're going to attack a couple more things as well in the meantime. So the side skirts obviously need to be black, but unlike the rest of the car, these ones actually need to be painted permanently black and not just primed. So we're gonna pull those off, prime, and paint them black. But while we're doing that, we're also going to do the trim as well. Now if you guys remember, this part of the trim is actually primed black because the trim covering had completely come off and it was rusted, and so we sanded all that rust off and primed it. Same with the top part here and some of this trim along the back and down there. The overall point that I'm getting at is that a lot of these small little pieces need to be resprayed black. So we're going to do that for all those pieces, and then we're going to clear coat them as well with 2K clear to get them that permanent hard clear coat on the outside that will have these permanently done. So we're gonna pull the side skirts off, sand and prime them black, and then wet sand the car. So I'll meet you right back as soon as we finish the wet sanding process. my Supra got vandalized last night. So it's kind of a bummer, not gonna lie. I don't know if any of you guys work in forensics, but if any of you guys noticed what these handprints go to, just let me know. And I'm gonna have to hunt them down. Just no respect for the classics anymore. So as you guys ended up seeing, I actually didn't take the side skirts off. Now, I was about to, and I realized there wasn't much point into doing so, because the only parts I'd be able to paint would be the parts that you see. So there was no point in taking them off in the first place. I was just overthinking a process that was a lot more simple than I initially thought. So we have them painted and they look good. It is quite odd not to just see them black, but to have the one part glossy black and the rest of the car dust black. So that looks so much better than I could have imagined. It's crazy to think that that's just rattle can, but yet it turned out so glossy. Are there imperfections? Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be imperfections with the work that I do in my garage, but I'm so happy with the results. Very, very pleased. So now it's time to wet sand the car, and we're gonna go ahead and do that next, and that will be the last step that we have for the video today, and I'm very excited to get it done. This has been a long process to have this whole car. I totally forgot about the trim. Oh, whoops. I forgot we were gonna paint the trim. Okay, so we are going to wet sand the car first because I wanna get that done and give it time to start drying today, since it's still like early in the morning. I think it's only like 9:15. But we're going to wet sand the car, let it dry out, and then we'll be able to paint the trim as the very last thing. I'm sorry I forgot about that. It's time to get to wet sanding. Now I know some of you think you're really smart. You're like, oh, Philip, you got a haircut, you changed your shirt, must be a whole new day. No, it's the same day. After I did whatever we did last, I went inside, cut my hair, and took a shower. Kind of stupid now that I think about it, because I'm gonna have to take another shower because it's only 1 o'clock. So, yeah. Anyway, here's where we're at. It's trim time. So I spent quite a while getting everything all taped up. We have our pillars, our trim, everything that's going to be painted gloss black. So, starting in the front, we're working our way back, and it's going to be a lot of running around. Hey, who put that there? Making sure everything gets painted, and in addition, we're gonna take care of this other side skirt as well, which, man, I should probably do that door one of these days. Not today. Everything is gonna be pretty simple, as most of it is already primed. Only the B pillars by the windows need to be primed before we paint them, but I did sand them down, so we are gonna go ahead and get everything painted completely gloss black and put 2K clear over top of it so we have a permanent glossy seal. So let's go ahead and set up the camera and get to work. Come on. Come on. I'm way more out of shape. Got to do some air squats. This is kind of sad. All right, anyway, we got the trim painted, and it's just kind of funny to see the random gloss areas on the car as contrasting the dusty black rest of the car. But oh my goodness, this actually looks pretty good. So here's the good and the bad and the honest review. It looks pretty decent, but as you can tell in that light section below, there's a couple fish eyes, and the orange peel is actually no bueno. I mean, overall it's actually pretty decent, but there is some imperfections in the paint, kind of what you could expect from it being, well, a rattle can job. So I did go a little heavy on the paint on the last few coats after I realized that the first few were getting some orange peel, so this will be able to get sanded down to hopefully knock off a bit of that orange peel. The side skirts are the same story, but these ones I'm not as concerned with because they get beat up a lot as I drive anyway. But oh my goodness, we got a lot done in this episode, and let's just recap it because it's a lot, and my goodness, it feels good to have it done. We completely smoothed and primed the whole back of the car, and now the whole car is in a primer black, all except for, of course, that one door that I will worry about on another day. But we filled dents on the side, on the back, and the ducktail. Oh my goodness, that was a task in and of itself. We completely smoothed the back, so it looks really, really good now. But the thing you probably weren't able to tell was that it took quite a few layers of filler just to get it exactly as smooth as I wanted it to, but I am happy that I took the time. In fact, it actually took a full day working on just the ducktail alone. You could actually see through some of the wet sanding that we did, all these different layers of body filler that it takes to get things perfectly smooth. Which after it was all said and done, it made me realize that I forgot to hit it with 220 grit and 600 before I painted it. So you can see the lines from me just using the 40 grit to knock it down. So this is gonna get another sand and another prime off camera. But oh my goodness, it is nice to have this done, and we are at an end. But I got a huge announcement coming soon. Well, the announcement's coming now. I've spent the last month completely redesigning everything on the Widebody Supra website. I am talking like a whole bunch of new designs that I've created myself, and I'm really hoping that you guys enjoy them. So it is all going live on July 1st. I'm still doing those final touches, getting my final reviews from other people, making sure that everything is really, really good. But it has taken a lot of work, and I'm actually really proud with how it's turning out so far. It is quality designs that I'm excited to share with you guys, and there is going to be a bunch of new stuff. Now, with that being said, I'm actually going to be taking down all but 2 of my designs currently on the website right now. So if you want to get anything that's up there right now, go. This is your last chance to grab it before a lot of it gets taken down permanently. So look forward to that coming soon, and thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Adios. I don't know if you guys actually cut your hair yourself, but my goodness, I don't know if it looks good. I totally guess when I do the back. How's it look, guys?